Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I are playing the Delta Green RPG. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. The scenario is entitled Separation Anxiety. It was written by Jeffrey Moeller, and it's from a collection, Fear's Sharp Little Needles. It's available from Drive-Thru RPG. Our game master is John Dos Passos, and this is episode 1. So without any further delay, let's begin our journey into the darkness. John?
Thank you, yes. Today's story is set again, we find ourselves in Ohio, this time Dark County, Ohio, a little bit outside of Cleveland, where our 5 agents have all recently arrived because they all received an encoded email. They all have a special encrypted email applications on their phones, which they all received an email with the familiar header, we invite you to a night at the opera. Of course, you all know what that means from initiation, and upon opening it, it mentions with the header, Operation Appalachian Sunrise. It seems that a local geneticist, a biological researcher, Beatrice Bell, BB, as she was known, has unfortunately gone missing. Her work was notable and significant, and in addition to this, there are scientists in Delta Green that want to ensure that there is no unnatural element to it, and so you're being sent out to evaluate this and see what you can do. You're going to be going in as FBI liaisons, and so attached is instructions on a dead drop for where those of you who don't have legitimate police or FBI credentials can now get them. In addition, it mentions where you are all going to meet, which is the medical center, is the School of Medicine building at Case Western, the medical center there, where you can speak with some of her coworkers. They also mention her mother. The agency thinks that the ACEL thinks these two groups are going to be the most. Her mother and her coworkers probably know her best. Unfortunately, she doesn't have a whole lot of friends, and from there, you may take the investigation as you like. It does mention that you will meet others there. It mentions maybe some code names, but nothing too incriminating. And then the final line is, P.S. Do please take notes. This email will self-delete in 10 minutes. And so we find ourselves outside the medical center of the university in Cleveland, as I said, the Case Western Medical Center. You're all sort of arriving, however you may, by car or whatever your preferred method of transportation is. And so why don't you all describe what you all look like as you meet, and you can have some introductions. Why don't we start with Prada and go down the left or right?
Yes. Well, officially, I'm Agent Prada, but most of you will know me as Hades Vandermeer. I was involved with the glass house incident. I became very interested after that in occult matters and was eventually approached by Delta Green. So now I'm officially, I'm kind of a reverse agent. I am Hades Vandermeer, and everybody knows that, but I'm secretly Agent Prada. I'm just bringing my expertise and getting rid of forgeries and things like that, and my own personal curiosity. I also live in Ohio, along with Agent Prawn and Agent Paradox. I mean, I don't live with them, but I live in the same state, so I'm familiar with both of them.
Indeed. Most of you were brought in some of you for your specialties, others for merely that you are Ohio locals or nearby or were in Ohio at the right time. Next up, why don't you give us a description for Agent Patch as they arrive?
Well, Patch brings to the team a medical expertise as a surgeon, specializing in trauma surgeries and combat. She is dressed formally, very no-nonsense, business suit and attire, her graying hair in a tight bun, and a very prematurely aged face, with a look of she's seen some things.
And then we'll move to Paradox, Agent Paradox.
So a figure pulls up to the building. He's got a motorcycle helmet on because he's riding in on a Daytona Triumph. And when he takes that helmet off, there's this kind of almost disheveled 5 o'clock shadow face of a man who has worked so many long hours. And this is Agent Paradox, who specializes in homicide investigations and criminology.
And then Agent Pawn.
Agent Pond pulls up in a very obviously federal car, tinted windows, and pulls on his giant FBI jacket. He is a brick wall of a man, has a nose that's been broken maybe too many times in his youth and not quite set right, very close cut hair. And he gives a very kind of no nonsense look around as he pops the hood of his car and makes sure that his concealed weapons are on him before he heads in.
Right. And it is worth mentioning that as our resident FBI agent, one of your superiors sort of very discreetly handed you a burner phone earlier. That superior is not involved in this investigation, but obviously is either a friendly or agent themselves. And so you're assuming that there is a handler at the other end of this line. However, you know that the sort of etiquette for this kind of op is to not call unless absolutely necessary, or you have something to report, or you're finished. Given the nature of this one as a sort of false pretense as a legitimate FBI operation. And then last but not least, Agent Parsnip.
Yes, Agent Parsnip is an older computer scientist engineer, and so he was brought in for that kind of work. His general appearance is disheveled and kind of unhealthy looking. He smokes quite a bit, actually, and so that's kind of what his general, just, you know, I'm here to work kind of attitude.
Very professional. Yes, to the point.
Well, I don't know about professional, but
Well, and sort of no nonsense type thing. Like, I'm here for the job.
yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. So as I mentioned, you all arrive at the Case Western School of Medicine in Cleveland, Ohio. It is, of course, a research center, as well as is attached to a full hospital that is involved with the school and the medical school. You see it is about midday. There aren't a whole lot of people in this part of the in this particular parking lot for this part of the facility. You know that you have your notes that you are to meet a Dr. Laura Bixby, who is one of the coworkers. That is your point of contact for this one. And as well as I mentioned, there is also the mother, Gertrude Bell, you can look into as well as your other lead. However, she lives in Kentucky, and so you just have a phone number for her. And so you are all free to make your introductions and go from where you'd like from there.
Pawn and Paradox, nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well, Prada.
To see you.
You got,
See
the
your
same, you got the same email that I did, then this sounds very much more like a police investigation than anything else. Missing doctor, missing scientist. Hello.
Patch. You just call me Patch.
Yes.
Who made this? This is terrible.
What is that?
Coffee.
What kind of coffee
Garbage.
machine do you have installed in your car?
I just pulled it from the lobby.
Ah, oof.
Well, Cleveland isn't really known for its coffee.
Just
Hospitals aren't either.
who cares what it tastes like? Take a 5-hour energy if you need some juice.
Your Parsnip,
Yes,
correct?
I am.
Computer whiz.
I know some circuits. Yeah.
Well, I'm Hades Vandermeer. I mean, I'm sure you all know that already. But secretly, I'm Agent Prada.
Right.
Well, we're glad you dressed down to stay inconspicuous today, Agent Prada.
But you see, that's just it. The more conspicuous I am, the more invisible I am. Nobody would ever suspect that I'm an agent of.
Don't say it. Don't. That's like rule number 1. Paradox, why?
Why did I recruit him?
It's
Well,
fine.
You're responsible for this clown then. That was
Hey,
you.
listen, I'm a good judge of character. I trust in Prada, and you should too.
Everyone should. Oh,
Parsnip?
you're talking about me.
Parsnip, you ever fired a gun?
Oh yeah. I like guns.
Excellent. We're going to get along great.
Yeah. Hey, Patch, where'd you get that coffee at?
Bobby. Don't bother.
Yeah. As long as it's hot.
Yeah,
Caffeinated.
careful. That Cleveland coffee will give you the runs.
Great. One more thing to look forward to.
Well, do we go inside? We're inside. Where are we supposed to go?
Yeah, what aliases should we set up?
Was that?
What aliases should we set up? Speaking to the group.
Well, I assume your FBI badges that you
Yeah.
obviously have
Yeah.
should
Yeah,
have
fake
something on
credentials,
them. Yeah, something.
All right. Well, I'll be FBI agent Steve Chen.
Perfect.
Yeah, the Paradox and Pawn have fake agent badges as well as their real badges if you want to use your real names, and then or feel that might be necessary at any point, but know the the drawbacks for that. And then Patch, Prada, and Parsnip all have official FBI consultant or FBI professional staff badges, which just refers to anybody that isn't a special agent.
Yeah, I requested John Smith as mine.
Ah, perfect. Yeah, no one's going to question that.
Right.
And yeah, so you're all standing in the lobby. There is coffee, and there's the other things that you would expect as mediocre things that a medical center as part of a school would offer. There's sort of the main part of the lobby, and then you're sort of brought over into a sort of a little side waiting room, and eventually you see a woman comes out. A sort of middle-aged woman. She introduced herself as Dr. Laura Bigsby. She says. Thank you so much for coming. We're really concerned for BB. She's one of our first year PhD students. And she was doing some really amazing work studying her own condition, actually, the Farnsworth-Bell syndrome. Are you at all familiar? I take it you're not involved in biological academia.
Seems it was named after her. Yes.
Well, rather, it was named after her family. Yes, she comes from the Bell family. See, the Farnsworth-Bell syndrome, from what we understand, it's a rare recessive inherited condition. It's prevalent in certain lines of the Farnsworth and Bell families, respectively. It's believed to have originated with she kind of looks at her notes, a male founder. Here it says arising in Kentucky in the mid-19th century. It seems that only people who inherit 2 copies of the mutated gene, as in both descendant from the founder, are affected. BB's mother must have unknowingly been a carrier, as well as her father. Now, this Farnsworth-Bell syndrome research is especially interesting. We've gotten some grants from the state and the government because, well. So let me back up a little bit. So the Farnsworth-Bell syndrome, it's, as I said, it's a genetic condition. It has traits that manifest in people. People with FBS are usually taller, thinner than a little normal. They usually have very fair skin, black straight hair, excellent reflexes, but very brittle bones, extraordinary long, slender digits. And most notably, their blood is very quick to clot. In fact, many of them need to take blood thinners as they age. And that last part of the condition is actually what makes it of potential medical value. And so that's one of the reasons that we've been, doing a lot of research into it, and that it's gotten the grants that it has. From what I remember, BB, she wanted to isolate the particular mutation of her rare condition. But we only have about 20 cases or so in our literature. And again, as I mentioned, the first one seems to begin in Kentucky in 1808. And she as well, she says, oh, by the way, and she pulls out like a little employee ID, like an extra copy of Beatrice. And she says, if you didn't already have a photo, she hands you a photo of BB. I mean, indeed, she looks like a younger woman, not unattractive, displaying all of these sort of unusual features that I mentioned. Some look a little odd, but some actually look rather nice. They're qualities that people would aspire for. And she says, yeah, like I said, we're all really concerned. It's been a few weeks now since she last came into work. I know that her mother is worried sick. She has a dog that friends have been, going over to feed that needs to be taken care of. But really, however I can help, you just let me know. I'm happy to help. And she takes you in and she says, here, why don't we, and she leads you through, you walk by the, sort of big windows where you can see into the laboratories where they do all their work. Shakes you into BB's little workspace right next to her own office. And she says, here's where she worked. Unfortunately, she took her laptop with her, but everything else is here. And like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Is the Farnsworth-Bell syndrome? You said it's genetic mutations, but is it fatal? Does it cause mortality rate higher than normal? Or
no, as I said, in fact, it's sort of a double-edged sword, I guess would be the best way to put it. Those who become older, if they don't get blood thinners, their blood might clot, they might have a heart attack or cardiac arrest, and that would obviously be fatal. But other than that, no. I mean, these people, they, like I said, they look a little differently, their bodies work a little differently, but they live normal lives.
So it's not likely that she succumbed to the disease.
No, not at all. Especially given that she has full access to all of our facilities, and we have, obviously we have some of the best doctors in Ohio here. So
and she's obviously been researching it,
right?
Looking for a way to counteract it or to cure it. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Can you think of any rivals she might have in the medical field that would want to hinder or take credit for her work?
We were all, when the police first came in and we talked to them, we told them the same thing, that we can't, I mean, she was a good girl, she wasn't the social butterfly. So she, didn't have a whole lot of people in her life, but those that she did, they appreciated her, or they went, they had understanding of respect. She didn't get along with everybody here. There was the workplace squabbles and disagreements about things like that, but nothing. I mean, everyone, I think they even wrote well about their anonymous assessments of each other in the other PhD students. So I can't think of any rival here. I don't think perhaps her mother or one of her friends would be better asked. I don't think she had any bad spats with ex-lovers or anything like that. It's mostly kept to herself. I don't think she was really looking into relationships at this time in her life.
As far as that the members of the family that actually have this would like it cured or removed.
I can't speak on that. Maybe her mother could say. I don't know.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Other than
why else
BB,
research it? Why else research it?
Yes, I know that BB was definitely interested in potentially, curing or bettering her own life and the life of her descendants that might have the same, should she choose to have children. And she, like I said, she wanted to see about the potential health benefits. So, but
I don't have any background in medical. I'm sure Dr. Agent.
Dr. Toops. We've only just met. Excuse him.
Yes.
Of course.
Dr. Toops would have more questions about the details of this.
Yes. Does she have any research notes here in her office, or surely she didn't work from home on all this?
Well, most of it's kept within the system, so you could access it from
her computer,
right? From her laptop, or I think it would probably have to be her laptop if you wanted to get everything she has. Some of it is stored on our servers, but some of her notes obviously hasn't uploaded yet. So,
of course,
would we be able to get access to those?
Sure. I mean, I'm sure if you got a hold of your computer, I'm sure that somebody at the, I'm sure you can go through those channels. I'm not an expert on that, but I presume if the FBI isn't involved, then surely they could get that. So.
I flashed my badge, FBI agent Steve Chen, and this is my partner, John Smith. Now, I have a few questions for you. Now, to prevent the blood clotting, would BB have a large amount of blood thinner?
BB didn't have to take blood thinners, but I suppose that were she, her mother probably does. And I don't think it's necessarily a large amount, but it's definitely, like I said, it would be bad if she didn't take them.
Right.
It's about maybe a normal or somewhat strong dose for somebody that has blood clots, but nothing unheard of.
Okay. Excellent. If we could see her office, that would be handy.
And she shows you in. She has just a little workspace next to her office. You do see there's some notes, some things that corroborate what Dr. Laura has said, some things that you don't quite understand, medical terminology, lab tests and things like that. But, Patch can tell that, again, it corroborates what they've said. You'd really need her, like I said, her more in-depth notes to get everything else. But you do find a lot of her stuff on her work, like I said, mostly things that relate to her condition, investigating genetic things, recessive traits, analyzing that sort of thing. A lot of work in encyclopedias and different books and notes that are stacked up in her workstation there.
If I may ask, going into her office, I'm not going to look at the papers or anything because that's what they're doing. If she was planning on going somewhere or leaving, there might be some indications around the room. For instance, she might have a wall calendar with pictures of Aruba, or, she might have little knickknacks on her table that tell us that she wants to go to Mexico. Or
would someone like to give me a search roll?
I'll do a search.
Yeah.
Oh, I need dice.
Indeed. And just a subtle reminder, so this is Delta Green. So mostly, luckily, love the connection of the two systems. Mostly the same thing we're regularly used to. Just remember that doubles are now important. And that it actually, and rather, the degree of success does matter. So I might ask you what you did roll, but you don't need to tell me if it's a hard or extreme, just if it was a double or not.
I got a 47 out of 60.
Awesome. Yeah. So you succeeded. You're able to look around and you find some notes, some data from a recent test. Like there was a blood sample that was tested, and you notice this is particular to you because it appears to have been printed the results after she had already gone missing, and so you and by corroborating with Dr. Toops, Agent Patch here, you can tell that this was a test that took several days, that BB started and then was missing when it was finished. So somebody else had to come and remove the sample and the stuff automatically printed. But she set stuff up to be tested and then didn't come back to get those results. So it would imply that she wasn't planning on leaving, or at least that she didn't want people to know that she was leaving if she was.
So she didn't just go on vacation and nobody knows.
Correct.
That.
Now, are these results any different than her previous tests? Like an outlier?
No, they're not particularly an outlier.
Okay.
You're not quite sure what exactly the specific blood results mean, but they seem to coincide with what her previous stuff is. It wasn't a epiphany of sorts.
Agent Patch, are you able to tell if these are all from the same individual?
Am I able to tell that?
Yeah. I mean, what is just let me see here. What your medicine is higher than 40, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Right. So
60,
so by you're not all in a rush right now. So just by having the medicine at 60, you're able to tell that indeed it looks like almost all of these results are all from BB. These seem to mostly all be results having to do with her genetic material, her blood samples, her genetic samples, tests with that. You do see that there are some reference tests or cross references to data they had on file, like the case that they mentioned in 1808, and results they have relating to those previous. Because I said there's about 20 previous Farnsworth FBS people on file that they have some, and some of those they have actual samples for. So she cross-referenced with those, but it seems the only new sample that she was taking, or new samples, were from herself.
Very small sample size here. This is all hers, of course, but what they said about the number of people with this syndrome being so low, and the fact that both parents must be a carrier, makes me curious how her mother and father met, I guess.
Maybe we can do a background check.
Strange going on there. Possibly. Vandermeer, you said you were wanting to know if she had maybe gone on vacation. Have you just checked her socials?
I'm looking at stuff around. Yes. I mean, we can't all fit around the desk.
I mean, no, like her Facebook, her Instagram, her.
We can do that, certainly.
Yeah. Are you going to go ahead and check that now, or?
I'll do that in a moment. I was just going to ask, does she have any siblings? Are the tests all done on her own blood?
They do all seem to be done on her own blood. She doesn't seem to have any siblings that you know of. You can ask her mother for sure when you call her.
I'll check her social accounts.
Yeah, you do see that she wasn't super active, but she has a Facebook. It seems that she last posted a few weeks ago. About maybe 5 days to a week before her disappearance. She reposted some sort of science meme, when somebody doesn't understand that you can't pull out the astroglade during the blah, blah, because then you mess up the whole thing and you're just like this face, and, one of those type of things. And, she changed her profile picture out 2 weeks ago, nice photo of her with her dog, a rather big dog, you notice.
At BB Kitty.
Oh yeah, that's her Twitter where she posts more science memes.
I don't seem to indicate that she was going anywhere. There's no plane tickets or cruise tickets or car. I wonder when was the last time anyone saw her?
Yeah, let me
Is
get
her
that.
car misplaced? We should find out that. Or if
her car is not here. You know that for sure because you didn't see it out front. Okay. And she was last seen. She's last seen about almost exactly 3 weeks ago, and she was last seen leaving work from this building. Her purse is missing, and as you're looking through the police report, it does actually note that her phone was actually found smashed in the parking lot. However, it seems that her car was not in the parking lot, and so you're not sure if she didn't take her car that day, or if the car was also taken, or if she drove away somewhere. But the phone was left smashed, and she was last seen leaving work.
Well, I think that's a high indicator that she was accosted in the parking lot, because even if you dropped your phone and broke it, you'd pick it up for the SIM card.
We should see with the police if I'm betting Mr. Bailey would be able to get some data off the SIM card if it's still intact.
Now, I have an in with the Cleveland Police Department, and I'm wondering if I can check the highway cams about 3 weeks ago on that date for any sign of that license, that car license plate.
You could, and even before that, Bailey, when he mentions that, you think that, oh hey, this place has security cameras.
Well, we got to get you inside the security room, then, Parsnip.
Oh, yeah.
About to check the security cameras already? Who's running the show? Jesus.
No, I don't think he's running the show, although many people would lead you to believe that he is. Jesus.
Are you just talking amongst yourselves, or do you mention getting him into the security room to Bigsby?
I mean, we might as well. We have the authority with our FBI badges. So let's take a look.
Before we leave, does she have like a workstation where she has like a separate mouse and
no, it seems like it seems that when you found her desk, I mentioned all those notes and the sort of books piled up. There is a spot where you imagine she usually plugs in her laptop.
Okay.
So I think for you get the idea, as a person that the cloud is wonderful, but you have to upload everything to the cloud. So it is easier just to, when you're working with local files, just to bring one device.
Yeah. I was just wondering if is this like her space or is it a shared space?
So this specifically is her space. It is her workstation, but this is part of a shared offices. Yes, she doesn't have her own office, but she does have her own workspace.
Okay, I was just curious to see if there might be thumb drives or a password book or things that she might have at her workstation, other than just random items like a mouse and a thing.
Yeah, mostly just what you found before with the different notes and things like that.
Okay.
At least here, that is, yeah. And yeah, so when you mentioned the cameras to Dr. Laura Bigsby, she's like, oh, of course. The police took a look. I'm sure the FBI would want to do the same. And she takes you over, leads you over down through the halls to where the security office is. Inside there's a scruffy looking guard, drinking some coffee, and he's like, oh. More, they want to see yeah. And he kind of, he knows the drill. It looks like he's worked here a while. And so he, scoots out of the way and lets you take a seat. There isn't the best cameras of viewing the parking lot, but you do see the sort of exit. And you do see her leaving. You do see, as you scroll back, you do finally come to where BB leaves out through the exit. And you see her sort of kind of standing right at the edge of the frame, as if waiting for a ride or to somebody to swing around and pick her up. It is then where you see her sort of almost violently tugged out of frame. You do see maybe a hand or an arm or something grab, and then that's when she's unfortunately pulled sort of around the corner out of the frame of the camera, which is mostly focused on the back entrance.
By a person.
It's seemingly some kind of arm or something. Yeah, it looked like a person to you. Yeah.
Not
and
a
that
car
person took
driving
her
up
car.
What?
And that person took her car because her car has been missing.
Her car has not. Her car is not here. Her car is not necessarily missing. Yeah. So it seemed like she was waiting for somebody.
Do we have her home address at this point?
You do. Yes, you do.
Okay. Very good.
Should we go outside and look at this area? Maybe she dropped something that they didn't notice.
That's a good idea. But it has been 3 weeks, so I'm not too optimistic.
Well, we can assess if they grabbed her and dragged her somewhere, where would they go? They wouldn't go towards the street. They wouldn't go over that way. Maybe to the dumpster, maybe to the forest. I don't know what it looks like outside. But
who was the last patient she worked with? Or how long ago was that anyway? Was it recent?
She hasn't really worked with patients much.
Okay.
She mostly is more of a
Researcher.
Yeah, and so she mostly works with herself and, as I mentioned, the previous samples.
Right. I didn't know if she had any case studies she was working through. Okay.
Not at the moment, it seems. Yeah.
And does anyone have access to her workstation at the moment?
Yeah, Dr. Laura Bigsby would, as the sort of department head of her PhD program.
But other just normal students cannot access this area,
no,
correct?
It would have to be either her or another researcher using that station, which it looks like it was mostly just her. And so other people would have access to that room in other terms, or other semesters. But seems like for this semester it was just her working in this room. So Hades, you said you wanted to go outside?
Yes, I want to go outside and just see if I can find anything else. I do agree that we need to go to her home and in part see the extent of her research, see what she has been sticking her nose into. I mean, if it's just a missing person case, it's not.
Yeah. So Hades, Agent Prada, and anyone else who wishes to go along with him, you go outside again.
I'll go with.
You walk out towards where you saw sort of the very edge of the frame of the camera where you saw her pulled or grabbed seemingly away. You do spot some little shards of glass and little bits of where the phone broke. You imagine the phone's probably in evidence. Paradox could get that if you were interested in that. And as you're looking around, go ahead and you can give me either a alertness or a search for this one.
01.
Oh,
Yeah.
3.
okay. Well, it's funny. 03. As much as it pains me to say, an 03 will beat other things, but it's not actually any more special. A 1 is the superior crit, though. It's like the crit, not just.
I'm grabbing Prada to recreate the crime scene.
Yeah, I like that. Well, so Prada was just kind of scanning around, but then
I have to
Paradox,
throw my phone down. Oh,
you grab, and you sort of fake throw the phone, and in this sort of squabble, you actually you spot something. So there's this sort of concrete of the parking lot, and then just to the side there's some like grass, and there seems to be a little bit of some sort of a drainage ditch kind of on the side, and you actually spot something shiny in the drainage ditch.
Don't you see that?
yes.
That glint. Let's go check it out.
And as you kind of look, and what spurred you to look this way is where the phone would have bounced would have been kind of near, like sort of into this grass. And that makes you think, well, did anything else, get tossed? And and you spot this glint. And as you approach, it seems to be some sort of a gray flat thing that is partially covered in a few weeks worth of mud.
How large?
About this big.
All right. I'm going to go put on my gloves and get my evidence bag.
Careful. If you grab my hand if you need some steadying.
Yeah, and as you start pushing away the dirt and sort of, carefully digging this thing out, what do you know? It seems to be a laptop, now mud covered and a little bit worse for wear, but hopefully still works. You might have to get the data. Yeah, you might have to get the data. We should definitely
get this to Parsnip.
Yeah. So, but it seems that it was a good find and lucky spot. But you were able to find that you guessed that maybe just like the phone. She was sort of fumbling with her purse and, some things were tossed around. And it seemed that whoever, if she was taken and not just like pulled away, like, hey, loser, we're going shopping, then it seems that whoever grabbed her, kidnapped her, didn't really care about her possessions. They wanted BB.
Awesome work.
Do we see anything, since we both got very good rolls?
Yes.
Do we see anything else? I mean, we found the laptop, but do we see that maybe they would have had to have dragged her this way or that way, or that they had a car over there?
Yeah, you do see some skid marks and sort of, tire treads. You don't necessarily know it was from 3 weeks ago, but that would line up with, the sort of classic pull up, grab somebody, floor it off. So you're determined that at the very least somebody drove up and was like, "Let's go." You don't know if that was a kidnapping or a friend napping, but it was one of those two things.
It seemed like a kidnapping.
It's starting to very much seem like that, given
if they were friends and the friend made me drop my laptop and my iPhone, they wouldn't be my friend anymore.
Absolutely.
Well, and she hasn't showed up for work in 3 weeks. So.
Right. Let's go.
I'll get this laptop to Parsnip then.
Take this.
Thank you.
Let's take this inside. The best we can extract the information somehow. I'm sure Mr. Bailey has.
Yes.
Has that.
Yeah, do you want to go ahead and see if it's working now, or save that for later?
Let's be careful, because if we put the button and it blows up, then we're responsible.
I'm going to let the professional handle that.
Let the professional handle it. Then we can blame him if it blows up.
I wanted to ask if this laptop situation was like we couldn't even log in if we weren't connected to the hospital's internal network on a VPN, that kind of thing. Because if we can't access her stuff outside of the hospital, we should probably go ahead and try to do it now.
It would be best if the hospital did not know we had the laptop, though.
True. I thought maybe the Dr. Bixby was with us. That's why
I mean, there might be sensitive data on this laptop that we don't want getting out to the public.
Right. You imagine that if she's bringing the laptop to and from home, that at the very least you could access it from either here or her house.
Our house. Okay.
So it's either you can access it from anywhere with the right credentials like she would have on the laptop, or those two locations.
Agent Vandermeer, before we go to their home, you were looking through her Facebook. What was the dog's name?
You do notice that she did post on that profile picture, me and Boris and, enjoying the sunset.
Boris.
Asking the important questions.
Yeah, it looks like a big dog, a big cuddly dog.
Boris the Spaniel.
We
I don't know Spaniel's name.
we might want to get some sort of dog treat before we pay a visit to her home and are savaged.
Good idea, Mr. Smith.
I'm just saying we shouldn't shoot the dog.
Well, we should also look a little bit around around her workstation, see if we can find passwords, because she might have them.
Sure, give me...
Hospitals like this would be very secure, so they're going to be 16-digit passwords, probably.
Yeah. Give me a luck roll, somebody. So that's just a 50-50. You can either call it or just roll and assume low.
55.
Well, that's
bad, isn't it?
That's bad, unfortunately. So she doesn't have any passwords written down here. You're kind of getting the idea that she would, keep those a little closer to the chest. Maybe at her house. Yeah.
You didn't find her purse laying in the mud,
Oh,
did you?
jeez. No, I would have noticed that, I'm sure.
No, yeah, you didn't find the purse.
Unless it was a trashy purse, in which case I probably wouldn't have noticed it.
Well, Paradox, you said you could get the phone, right?
The phone?
Place to start. Yeah, that's another good.
I can recover the phone from the police department, so I can probably go with maybe Mr. Pond, so he can cover.
So the question here, though, is given that you would have to go into the Cleveland Police Department's, I'm assuming that given that you are a detective with Dark County, they would know you. So you either need to disguise yourself as a FBI consultant, or you're going to have to go in as your actual identity and try to sort of, just be, keep it on the down low.
I can get you the floor plan and all the security measures for the police department, and I can send that over to you, Mr. Pond.
Yes, that sounds fine by me, as long as you four stay safe going towards the house. Also, potentially you might want to ring the mother. If we're thinking this is an abduction, it's possible that whoever grabbed her because of her research of her heritage. Her mother may be in danger as well.
Do you know the mother? I know. Do we know if the mother lives kind of in the Kentucky-Ohio border region, or?
Yeah,
sure?
There's about it's definitely rural Kentucky. You got the idea. So that you might as well just call her rather than make the trip out.
Got it.
While you do that, I think I'm going to pay a quick visit to the library. I would like to do some research and see if I can find anything on Farnsworth and Bell families from Kentucky 1808. If there's some incident or some family history that ties the two families together.
All right. So let's go ahead. We'll do I guess we'll start with the PD since that was first suggested. So the plan, from what I take it, is that Paradox is going to give Pawn all the information that he needs, and then Pawn's going to go in as an FBI agent to get the phone for their investigation.
You've got the jacket for it.
Indeed. Yes, you do. All right. And I'm assuming you're using the John Smith badge.
Correct. Yes.
All right, yeah. So you arrive at the Cleveland PD, we'll call it Precinct 4. The precinct that is most closest to the Ohio Center. You walk in, you see the front desk just as Agent Paradox described to you. Maybe you even got an earpiece, kind of situation.
Oh yeah,
that's up to you too.
Yeah.
Kind of like, oh yeah, avoid her. She'll hold you for 15 minutes of some conversation. Skip that receptionist.
Oh, Nancy.
Talk to the other one.
He just looks real grumpy. So yeah.
So you avoid her. You talk to the quick and to the point receptionist, and she says, "Oh, sure," and she gets you, Lieutenant Phillips. He says, "Oh, hi. I understand you're working the missing persons." And so here is where I need you to go ahead and give me a persuade or bureaucracy roll to get this clean without questions asked, no paperwork signed. Otherwise, you're gonna have to make this more official.
That is a pass on persuade. I mean, it's
awesome.
Technically a pass on both, but I was
yeah. Was it double or
no?
Just right. Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. And so he says, all right, yeah. And he goes to the evidence room and he brings it back. He says, unfortunately, there wasn't. We were able to. The SIM card's still there. Can't get much out of it. Seems to be mostly destroyed. See what your text can do. Just make sure it gets back to us. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah.
And you said you were Agent Smith, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And you do see that he takes note of that, but you didn't have to sign anything or officially sign it out. So that Lieutenant Phillips knows where this went, but there isn't a paper trail. So, or there's not an official one. So.
And Agent Pond is not a very chatty individual, so there was no nice small talk, getting to know each other.
No, I mean, and Lieutenant Phillips, looks like a man that has 17 other things that he needs to do before he can sit down for his next coffee or smoke break. So he's happy to be like, all right, cool, thanks, have a good day. There's coffee on the way out if you want it. All right, so seems like you've got that you can analyze next. So then why don't we do the mother phone call? Who is interested in, was it just Patch that wanted to call the mother? Or did anybody else want to take part in that?
What are we going to ask her?
I'm assuming we're just going to ask her the last time she talked with her daughter, the same kind of stuff we asked Bixby. If there's anyone she knows that would want to harm Miss Bell and that kind of thing, I suppose. Maybe she could give us a little more information on this condition as well.
Awesome.
You want to take lead on that, Paradox, or?
I think I'm most suited for it. Sure.
Go for it.
All right. So I'm going to call up Gertrude Bell.
Yeah. Gertrude Bell. Yeah. So it rings a few times and eventually, you hear a woman answer. She says, hello. Yes. Who is this?
Hi, good afternoon. This is Steve Chen, FBI agent. Is this Gertrude Bell?
Oh, yes. Yes, it is. Yes.
We're actually calling because we're inquiring about your daughter, BB.
Oh, BB, yes, my dear Beatrice. I've been, we've been so worried. I've been so worried about her. I'm always, me and my rummage club. We're always keeping her in our prayers. She was a good girl. Was really working on some great stuff. Very smart. Very, really doing us proud.
Well, with any information you can provide us can help us with her swift recovery.
Well, did you talk to some of her coworkers? There's that Dr. Laura. I've talked to her a little bit since her disappearance. I think she was one of the last people to see her.
Right. Some of our agents have been in contact.
Okay, good.
With her.
Good. Yes. I'm no researcher myself. I just know sort of our family's tale, I guess. But
all right. Can you tell me the last time you talked to Beatrice?
Oh yes, of course. About 3.5 weeks ago, we had a very nice chat. She sent me some pictures of Boris. It was his birthday recently. So he got a wonderful doggy cupcake. Wonderful dog. Him, very, very, very lovable. Is the most lovable bloodhound I've ever met. So he's very good. Very, very good boy.
Okay. Now, did Beatrice ever mention to you about any breakthroughs in her research or anything of that sort?
No, I mean, she said recently she was very confident. The medical center had received a grant from the state of Ohio. And so she was well off. Her PDH program was going well. nothing groundbreaking yet, but I'm sure, she was making great strides, connecting back, some of her data with something about, other ancestors, so, like I said, some of this medical talk goes above my head, but I'm very, very happy and proud of her work. So I obviously
Awesome.
want, her to get back to that as soon as she can. So
Maybe we can switch the subject to family. Now, has she had any contact with her father?
well, her voice gets a little timid, and that she's kind of embarrassed to speak about this kind of topic, and she says, "Well, to be honest, no, she didn't really know her father at all. I think she kind of sheepishly admits. She says, "Well, her father was a man. He went by Jimmy. He was a very, very handsome fellow. I admit it was a little bar fling, passing little thing in my youth, a little passing mistake that gave me a wonder, that is BB. Unfortunately, I lost track of him after I fell pregnant. But she did take after him physically. It seems. She has my eyes, but she has a lot of his traits."
Well, don't worry, Gertrude. I'm not here to pass judgment. But do you know anything else about this Jimmy? Maybe a last name?
No, unfortunately, like I said, I never got it. I met him, in a bar in rural Kentucky. We square danced, and I think we had whiskey and I think some Brian Coke or something, and then he sort of swept me off my feet. It was a different time back then. Things were a lot simpler. We didn't really know about the ramifications of our actions in our youth.
Now, can I tell if she's telling the truth?
Yeah. So what is your psychology? Or sorry, what is your humint?
My humint is 50.
Yeah, and so even over the phone, with that, you're talking to her. She's happy to talk your ear off. And so you do talk with her for a little bit, and you get that she's very sincere. She was a little bit, sheepish, so she might not give you all the dirty details about the event, but it seems like it was just a little passing encounter with this Jimmy guy. She gives you a description of him. It matches the sort of it matches kind of Beatrice's description a little bit. Obviously, he's a guy, so there's some differences. She mentions him very rugged looking. Very man of the earth kind of look that she was attracted to back then.
Okay.
And yes, she seems, like I said, very sincere, very legitimate. She might not be sparing you of every dirty detail, but she is not lying to you.
But nothing used to identify who this Jimmy fellow is. No frequent haunts or anything. Just drops off the face of the earth after a pregnancy.
Well, it seems that she lost track of him. So perhaps he didn't go around that part of Kentucky anymore. But
thank you so much for your time then.
Oh, yes. It was wonderful talking. You said it was Steve Chen, right? It was wonderful talking with you, young man. Please do give me a call if you
we will be sure to update you on any developments.
Thank you. Please. I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Goodbye now.
All right. Great. Wonderful. And then we head to Prada at the library. Does anybody want to accompany?
I actually remembered that it's not 1920. So I have the library right here in my hand.
That is very true.
Unless I run into a wall, I don't have to go do physical copies of things. So I've been sitting here trying to find some of this information.
Yeah, sure. So I guess perhaps while the others are, making their phone calls or getting the phone or working with the computer, you can just simply be, nearby. And so, go ahead. And for this, why don't you do me a history roll for this one, since you're specifically looking at the historical.
History 54. And history is 75.
75. Yeah, you have very good. I remembered a very good history. So you're able to look through, and you are able to sort of, it takes you a little bit of digging, but you do find, you're kind of looking. It's hard to get a lot about that particular fellow. So as you're looking through, before you find anything involved with the 1808 case, you do actually find about 50 years ago, you find a pattern of about 10 missing persons, and they all, have these sort of unusual physical descriptions similar to BB's. They mention very fair skin and dark hair. Some even specifically mention sort of long fingernails. One mentions that the person suffered from, sort of a brittle bone type thing. And so they were like, one case, they were worried that maybe somebody fell down the stairs or and was never found or something like that. But
they all
seems
seem
like
to be Farnsworth-Bell syndrome.
You would guess. At least they're all Farnsworth-Bell syndrome.
From the description, yes.
At least they had traits that would make them mistakenly identified as such. And there's about 10, at least 10 that very much match those descriptions.
All from around the same time or across 50 years?
It stretches around 50 years, but it is notable that most of these have happened in Kentucky or Ohio.
Or Ohio. Can I make a list of the intervals between them? If it's like every 5 years, every 6 years.
It seems that there is no, there's no consistency, right? However, are you interested in looking into this further?
Well, yes, I would. I look for patterns. So if there's dates that they went missing, we are in Delta Green, so I'm going to check and see if the phase of the moon is corresponding to their.
What is interesting, you maybe tap into some extra little databases that you would have from being part of Delta Green, part of the conspiracy, and you are able to see there's no correlation with the moon phases. But as you're looking, right around each of the particular disappearances, you notice that you notice a couple, and then you do find a pattern that it seems like almost all of these 10 people, they went missing a few days after their pictures appeared either in the newspaper, online, they were on television, on the news, or answering some sort of question or in a commercial.
Very interesting.
And also notably, as you look back at these, as you're trying to sort of tie, these people's families, like if they tie back to the same as BB's, you notice that very, very seldom are fathers mentioned, and usually they are listed as stepfathers. You kind of, with your good intelligence, you kind of start to think, Hades, that, you're worried maybe it might have something to do with somebody is watching for reports of unusual looking people and then targeting them. Possibly is what you would, right.
I'm wondering. I'll express my speculations to the others when I meet them.
And then, so Bailey, before the group gets back together, were you going to wait until you got to the apartment, or did you want to go inside and use the internet here to check out the laptop?
I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to hold out and wait till we get to the apartment. There could be something at the apartment that might be helpful or useful.
And I'm meeting them there. So
so awesome. And then in fact, actually, while everyone's making their way to the apartment, and Hades is finishing his research since he took a little extra time there, did you want to take a look at the phone that the others bring you as you're meeting up and going to the library?
Oh yeah, I did forget about the phone. What can I make of the phone? Is it all there, or am I missing some pieces?
You are unfortunately missing a number of pieces. Seem to have been shattered. However, the SIM card is luckily intact, so it seems you can get some data off the SIM card. You're able to get, the recent call history, recent texts, and it seems, most of the data seems rather normal. You do see, like I said, that a couple calls between her family, some to her work. There's a couple numbers which you cross-reference, so they seem to be friends. Similar people of that age that are either attend the medical, the university or the medical center, or one or two friends from high school that she would text every couple months or something like that. So unfortunately, it's mostly mundane. However, you do spot there's actually a picture on the SIM card that she saved to the card. And it is there's a number of pictures. You scroll through, there's some of those science memes. There's a couple things that she wanted to remember, scheduled stuff for later appointments, people's number, or something that she needs to remember for work. But what as you're scrolling through, you do notice in particular one that sort of stands out. You notice a flyer It is a very simple a flyer, but is a flyer for the Farnsworth Farm. And it is a sort of agro-tourism business in rural Kentucky in Dark County, about 5 miles outside the village of Arcanum, which is just outside Cleveland. It seems like this is just a place where you can self-pick apples and pumpkins. You can do hay rides in the late summer and autumn. And it seems like this is something that she saw on Facebook or some other social media, and she went ahead and downloaded it. Potentially, probably to maybe go see, or maybe a friend sent her like, "Hey, you want to go pick apples sometime?" And so there is, it doesn't seem like maybe anything at first, but you do notice that it's another location in Dark County, so it might be a lead, it might be just a dead end.
I'm gonna hold on to that until I talk to the group, and then what about her emails? Her personal emails. Did I find anything in that?
Yeah, actually, as you are able to get into her emails from her phone, and you are not able to access you are able to get into her emails, and you do find there's a couple emails, like a bunch of them are just mundane things, but you do find one email of note. Because it is actually from Miskatonic University, which is immediately like you're taught as a member of the conspiracy. That's an immediate like ding, ding, ding for you all. And it seems that she was granted an online access to the copy of a book called The Legends and Folklore of Appalachia by the Special Collections Department at Miskatonic University on the day before her disappearance, based on that academic research request. You unfortunately can't access this from the phone because it's an encrypted document, but you most likely think that you could by logging onto her computer and accessing the same email or the same email account.
All right. And that's
wonderful.
that's really all I find with the phone.
Yeah, mostly.
Okay.
Like I said, you sort of corroborate some, nobody has sent her any angry texts. There's no no ex-boyfriends calling her, nothing like that, to refute anything you've heard. So you are all able to gather this all up, and you make your way over to BB's place. She has a little looks like a little sort of townhome type condominium sort of building, one of those like apartments, but not actually an apartment, because it's like its own little thing and a string of them. So you are able to approach, and as you all arrive, you do actually make note that her car is here. As you sort of started to pick up from the way that you saw from the security cameras, it seems that she did not take her car to work that day. You guess maybe she was planning on doing something afterwards, perhaps with a friend or getting a ride. And so, for whatever reason, her car is still here, which is just something you notice as you all arrive and regroup with each other.
Okay.
Can I share my information that I learned?
Did you end up getting that steak?
Yeah, I got it here. Just in case they are boarding the dog here. I know the friends are taking care of it, but just in case.
I found out some very interesting information. Are we going to go inside and discuss it, or?
Yeah, let's.
Yes.
You said there's a dog inside.
Potentially.
Ribeye will
Let's
calm it down.
knock on the door and it'll bark.
Mhm.
If
Yes.
the dog is inside.
And sure enough, it's not long where you hear the from some sort of
that
big
doesn't
dog.
sound very big at all.
So it slowly starts picking up, from the, from across the room, across the door.
Does somebody have a key?
Turn over the doormat or the flower pot, maybe.
Yeah.
He's the
Do you
person
want
that
to give
doesn't
me
like to
a
secure
luck
house.
roll?
Do agents of
Sure.
our caliber need?
I'll check. Yeah. An 08 is a success on the luck.
Yeah, so it isn't under the mat, but you search around, and there seems to be one of those potted plants that you pull out the key from sort of half buried in there.
PhD students think they're so smart. Open the door, get mauled by a dog.
Well, actually, as you
Who's a good
open,
puppy?
this big brown bloodhound runs up, and at first he's kind of sniffing a little bit, and then when he sees, when you you don't make any advances toward him, he eventually then kind of runs up and he starts running circles around you, kind of jumping up on you a little bit. It seems like he's a rather friendly dog. If you don't make any aggressive action, he's big old cuddly dog. Like most of them are. It seems like he's eager for attention. You just see a note on the counter with some half opened like a half filled bag of dog food, and it's just a note. It says to whom it may concern, we're searching for a forever home, having some trouble finding it. We come by every week or every few days. If you find a home, feel free to take Boris, signed, and it's like Agatha, you assume one of BB's friends.
Well, let's leash this thing to the table for a bit, just so it's not underfoot.
Just in the back patio or something, the backyard or something.
You gonna give it the steak, or are you gonna save that?
Yeah, just to shut it up.
Yeah, I mean, if you give it the steak, it will happily let you leash it somewhere, and it will go to town and spend it's gonna slowly work its way through that thing, enjoying it. So it'll be occupied for a little bit, and then it'll be leashed up. So,
do you think a house bloodhound would be any use in tracking someone?
Possibly. It certainly would know her. It's got the strongest sense of smell of all of the dogs.
You take it. This is not a professional bloodhound, like you
right.
might
Assuming that it's been trained.
But Hades is correct in that this. You ask it to sit and stand for treats, and it seems relatively trained. And you are right that it would at very least know BB's smell, and so you might have to stop it from getting distracted, but it could potentially help you find her.
We had one when I was a child, and we used to hide bits of bacon in the backyard, and the dog went straight to the bacon, always perfect. So I found out something very interesting. Over the past 50 years or so, there seem to have been 10 people, all of them matching, their descriptions matching the Farnsworth Bell syndrome people. They all went missing. Now, there's no distinct pattern. There's no intervals. They're not disappearing on a particular day of the month or during a phase of the moon, but they all appeared at one point or another shortly before their disappearance in the newspaper or something like that, as if somebody was watching, waiting for a bell to show up. And almost all of them take place in Kentucky, with a few in Ohio.
Do you think they are all in the Bell family, descendants of because there's the Farnsworth and the Bell, right? Could this be that?
Were they all Bells? The Bell family?
Let me double check, actually. It's a good question. It seems that no. In fact, given the way that paternal names work, some of them don't even have the last name right. Bell or Farnsworth because they have stepfathers or they have adopted families.
Yeah, they almost all have stepfathers. The fathers are almost never mentioned. They always leave.
Were any of them patients? Were any of them patients of BB?
Oh no! This is over the last 50 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
not even the most recent or anything like that. No.
I don't think she had patients. She was a scientist.
I'm case. I mean case studies. I know she's working with.
That is a question. In that you don't think any of these missing people are the 10 or the 20 samples that she had from the past that you saw earlier.
Right. So what I'm wondering is, since the fathers seem to disappear. And haven't you just told me that her father also seemed to have disappeared?
Yes. His name was Jimmy. Maybe that father is the same person.
I'm wondering I'm not wondering that, but I'm wondering if our Dr. BB was abducted for some sort of breeding.
Were they all women? Mommy, I guess that wouldn't matter.
Yes, all the fathers are the ones that disappear. All the women are the ones that are eventually abducted. Did she have a child? She didn't have a child.
No.
If somebody is impregnating these women and then they're giving birth to more cases of the syndrome. I don't know.
It's all missing women that have gone missing. It's all women.
Well, if
men?
the fathers are missing, then
That would be correct. It seems that these are because they're all matching BB's description specifically. So they have similar traits to hers.
Hallmarks of the condition that she has.
Right.
And that matches the story that Gertrude Bell told me when she met her BB's father. Now, BB's father disappeared shortly after Gertrude got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And I did get a first name, and that was Jimmy.
What's interesting is that there would have been no way for her father to know this is a recessive gene. Gertrude would not show any signs of this. We may have a bit of a Jimmy Appleseed situation where he's going out, sowing his oats, and then keeping an eye out for anybody that pops up 20 years later looking like she did.
Maybe, but one man over the
And to what
course of
purpose?
50 years?
And
Clearly they're getting kidnapped for some reason. Some organization.
I mean,
For all we know, it could be us.
the timeline could match up. Prada, if you think about it, if he started as a young man in his 20s, an old man in his 70s can still be, making children. So
In any case, we know that there's somebody else involved. That this is not some random grabbing of a woman in a parking lot. That, well, sorry to be scientific, it could still be just a random grabbing of a woman in a parking lot, but it's happened a lot over the course of the 50 years.
There's definitely a pattern.
when was the last person taken before BB?
Oh, that is a good question as well.
I probably have a list that I've
Right.
About 19 years ago.
Oh, so we're talking like generations.
Yes, this was across the last 50 years or so, particularly. And like
10, so not,
right,
yeah.
you apparently the Farnsworth Bell syndrome cases go back to as far as 1808. But to clarify, Hades was able to find specifically these 10 missing people over the last 50 years that were all on the newspaper, the television, or put online, and then there were missing.
And I haven't found anything so far specifically on an incident from 1808, but I'll keep looking.
Maybe the laptop will give us some more clues.
Yes.
Parsnip, did you find anything on the phone?
I did, actually. I found, I found a picture of a flyer for a Farnsworth farm in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
It might have a Facebook page or a website. They do hay rides, fruit picking, agritourism kind of things. So she had that on her phone. That seemed kind of interesting.
But just to clarify, that is in rural Ohio, but it is close to the Kentucky border.
Oh, it's in Ohio? Okay,
Yeah,
I
sorry.
wrote it down wrong. Sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah, just it's in rural. It's in the same county as this one, but more the edge of the county, closer to Kentucky.
Got it.
Do we want to just call the farm just to see if there's a Jimmy working there, and then maybe hang up right away?
Oh yeah, like can I speak with Jimmy?
Exactly.
We could search if it's on Facebook or something. We could see if there's any pictures, references to owners, that kind of stuff.
Also on a farm, how many Jimmys are there? I've got 4 in my family.
That's true.
Common names. That wouldn't necessarily tell us.
It wouldn't really tell us much of anything anyway.
And if he was there, he'd be warned that we were on.
Right.
We don't want that.
Anything else on the phone, Parsnip?
Yeah, there's something that's really interesting. She got an email from Miskatonic with online access to the legends and folklore of Appalachia. And she got this access a day before she disappeared.
Might be worth looking into that too then.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm going to need access to her laptop probably to read whatever this is. But
that's what we keep you around for.
Yeah, we got it right here. But be careful. It's covered in mud and might be fried for all we know.
I'll do what I can.
Good man.
Yeah, and so as you plug it in and get started up, why don't you give me a luck roll?
So I choose high or low?
Yeah, you can choose high or low, or just roll it and we'll assume low, but
Okay.
technically speaking, the rules say it's low, but I've always played in that you can pick, because it's just like flipping a coin. So what'd you get?
45.
Awesome. Yeah, so you have to clean some of the mud off, but you're able to plug it in and it seems to start up. It takes a second to boot, but it's a little worse for wear, but it is starting up. And so you're able to get on. The first screen is password protected. However, you look around, and similarly to the way you did at the office, you see it actually takes looking under the drawer, and the roof of the drawer has a sticky note on it, and you pull that off, and that has the passwords. And so you remembered what you did earlier and were able to find that. And so you're able to get into her computer.
Yes, thanks,
however,
John. Now I have to move mine.
Whoops. Great minds think alike. However, as you are starting to interface with it, you're going to need to give me a roll here, which would be, I believe, let me just make sure I'm telling you to roll the right thing. That would be you can go ahead and do either SIGINT or computer science, whichever is higher for this.
Okay. I have the same in both.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, we'll call it computer science. But
so I rolled a 48 out of 60.
Okay, great. Yeah, and so at first it is a little bit rough because as you start going through, you start as a computer scientist, and you are well experienced. You know your way around the digital world. You found that unfortunately there is a virus on this computer, and so you have to sort of fight against the virus at first as you're logging through. You are quickly able to determine, by looking at the code of it, that this is some sort of custom designed keylogger that activates and sends information to a particular IP address if certain words are inputted or searched. And before you even track it down further, that the IP address, just from the kind of IP address that it is, corresponds to somewhere near Arcanum, Ohio, in Dark County, which is where you're going now. So it's somewhere locally. It seems that it's where she got it. Your best guess is that you can sort of trace it back to numerous online academic repositories that happen to contain research data, specifically about Farnsworth-Bell syndrome. And you start thinking, okay, that makes sense. And as you're looking, you're able to, well, first of all, you find those emails again, but as you're dealing with this virus, you're able to determine that the terms Farnsworth-Bell syndrome, legends and folklore of Appalachia, and James Farnsworth are three of these search phrases that you were able to you find them in the code of the virus, given that your skill in coding and computers, and you're able to then look in her browser cache, and indeed BB searched all three of these things, which triggered that virus. So you are able to at least sort of disable it for now, so that it doesn't further get in your way. But it seems that she was unfortunately infected and likely didn't know it, given she wasn't a computer scientist herself. Now, you are able to find, first of all, her copy of the book, which you can take a look at. But you also find an encrypted document containing some more of her notes about her research. This is going to require either a medicine roll or a crit on an intelligence roll to decipher this, which I'm sure that Patch can take a look at. In addition, as I mentioned, you find, let me pull up here I can actually send the information for it. You find the legends and folklore of Appalachia, which seems to be some sort of like I said, it was something that she got from the Miskatonic, or one of their data banks. Can you have found? where is it? Sorry, hold on. Pull right up. Yes. So it is Legends of Folklore of Appalachia, as you are able to get the secure document open after you deal with the virus. It seems to be an oral history compilation that has been generated by several Miskatonic University field historians all the way back in the 1920s. The book contains most of the information on the historic Farnsworth Bell clan, which, it's an odd-looking family matching the description of the Farnsworth Bell hybrids. And it was led by a reputed sorcerer named James Farnsworth. He was reportedly born in Kentucky in 1808 to a single mother who was a reputed witch. The oral histories go into talk about how the family is said to be involved in devil worship in their compound in rural Lachey County, Kentucky, until a local militia dispersed them. Many Farnsworths were killed, but several of them, including James, escaped. The report of the raid notes that it often took several gunshots to kill a single Farnsworth, but their bones were brittle and that they oozed an odd, thick, blackish ichor when shot. A particularly disturbing passage at the end relates that a distant Farnsworth cousin had to be rescued by the militia from a root cellar where she had been chained, sliced open and mutilated, and then starved for weeks. The imprisoned woman sadly died, which greatly upset the extended family, and one of the statements from the arrested described her ordeal as the rite of passage for all true Farnsworths, separating the wheat from the chaff. And in addition, just from skimming this, you can go ahead and add +2 to your unnatural score. And you feel that if you were to study this in depth, maybe take a week, you could, dare I say, learn a little more about the unnatural. And there's even what might be a ritual you think that you could potentially learn from studying this. But that is generally, we're starting to enter the danger zone, as far as your briefings are concerned. So that is up for you to choose to do or do not with.
Is he reading this out to us?
Bill?
Yeah. I'm definitely relaying the information that's in here, and I'm definitely gonna read into it, spend as much time.
With the last name Bell, I don't think Gertrude was a random target, honestly.
Yeah, bingo. Jimmy,
Yeah.
James.
Mm-hmm.
Seems she's probably in a cellar right now going under.
A man from
the raid.
1808, surely not. Maybe the name James is just a
Family
common
name.
the family name they pass on.
You
Right.
dealt with sorcerers before, Agent?
No, I have not, Pawn. Have you?
Yeah. They're sons of bitches. Each and every single one. It could be the same guy. It wouldn't even surprise me. This makes sense. They're tricky son bitches. But apparently you can shoot them, so things are looking up.
I agree, Agent Pun. An unhealthy dose of lead poisoning.
I'm curious too. Doesn't the last name Bell ring a bell? The Bell Witch. We've heard the term before, and there's quite a few witch names that are well known. Keziah Mason and Goody. What was her name? Goody something.
Sarah?
Something like that. I
Well,
do some research on the Bell Witch.
What's this medical document you found there?
I can't read it. Can you read it?
Yeah. Let me.
I'm not medicine.
All right.
Can
That's
also
10 out of 60.
if anyone wants to look into the Bell Witch, you can do an occult while we handle this, and then just save that for when we're done. So yes, you said you did pass, or
10 out of 60.
oh, wonderful, yes, of course. So yes, you're able to sort of look through. It takes you a little bit, but with your medical knowledge as a field surgeon and trauma medic, you're able to decipher this medical mumbo jumbo, so to speak. And basically, what all as you look, you find that Gertrude was correct in that BB hadn't had any crazy breakthroughs, but she was well on her way towards establishing Like the vast majority of the DNA samples from FBS patients, including her, have a common father, not just a common ancestor. And that they show numerous signs of inbreeding on the maternal side, as though even the mothers have a considerable shared descent. Now, DNA analysis has only been performed in the past several years, given recent technology. And, they were able to do some tests on previous samples, but not all of them, you stand up to the test of time. But she, Beatrice was alarmed to have isolated DNA from a Bell relative who died in 1910 and nonetheless apparently had the same father that she did. And this startling realization is going to have to do a SAN roll for that.
Of course.
Just 0-1 on this one.
Okay.
Because
55.
again,
wow, that's a 98. No, I take that one.
Yeah, you're taking the one. Unfortunately, you're very smart, Patch, and as much as you think how impossible it is, maybe Pawn and the others are onto something, in that maybe it somehow is the same person, impossibly, unnaturally, dare I say.
The Jimmy Appleseed theory has,
and as
credence to it.
As you're realizing that, Prada, you are able to look in, and you do know about the Bell Witch, which again, the Bell Witch is known. She was a renowned witch, in the 19th century, Bell family, which they were actually in Northwest Robertson, Kentucky, and near the Red River. And she was, sort of renowned as a witch, and of course, very similar thing that happened to Farnsworth happened to the Bell. There doesn't seem to be any direct connection, but there you do posit that would quite make sense where the Bell half of things come from, because the book only seems to mention the Farnsworths,
Right.
And so the two are sort of the two families are you're starting to gather have similar genes, like they're from the same clan, and so perhaps you're getting maybe one of these Farnsworths, maybe even the sorcerer James himself that you've sort of found out about, had relations with the Bell Witch or one of their descendants, and that is where the Bell half of the clan came from.
Yes.
Now, agents, I've come to two realizations. Same killer, same MO, which means that there's a chance that BB still might be alive, chained to a cellar somewhere.
I think she's going through the rite of passage or whatever. Yeah.
Second is that this James, he might be an experienced hacker of some sorts to develop some kind of virus that sophisticated. So maybe we should take precautions there with our own technology.
Is
He
it that
certainly had time.
sophisticated, Mr. Parsnip?
Yeah, how?
I mean, is it a sophisticated virus, or is it something that you've programmed yourself rather easily?
Yeah, that's a good question. Can I get a level of sophistication on this?
So it's not the most sophisticated because you were easily able to track that the IP it's from Dark County. Like they're not bouncing their IP or anything like that. It would take you'd have to spend a little bit of time researching, but you think that you might even be able to sort of triangulate or hone in even further where this IP is coming from within Dark County. It's near Arcanum so far, but you probably further pinpoint that if you spend a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, do we want to invest the time to do that? Because it might be worth it.
But
to
also,
find out where the person
BB's
is.
chained up somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
So
we
is
don't
that what
know.
our hypothesis is? Is that a 19th century wizard, sorcerer, who produced offspring possibly with an 19th century witch, is somehow capturing women who are related to him over the course of 50 years and chaining them up and putting them through some sort of an ordeal to see if they are true Farnsworths. And those who survive become breeding stock, maybe?
It's
I don't want to find
classic-
out.
Yeah, it's classic cult behavior. Those who survive are basically brainwashed.
And I'd hate to admit it, but all the evidence points to it, and Occam's razor.
Paradox, when you talk to Gertrude, you're sure she didn't know anything about all of this?
Yeah, I know people.
Okay.
And just from the tone of her voice, she was just the worried mother.
But you did use the word murder. Do we have any evidence that anybody was actually killed?
I mean, the description of the ritual, I mean, how could anyone survive that?
I guess just to clarify, yeah, it's worth noting that the mention you read in the oral history that Bailey found on the computer did mention that one case that woman did die.
Mhm.
She did die.
So she did die as they found her body as part of that raid. However, it's also worth noting that all these missing people that Prada found, none of them had a body found. So
Right.
that doesn't mean that they weren't.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that they weren't murdered. But if there was a body, it was never found.
Right.
It's just, I find it to be very helpful to be precise and realize that unless you have a body, you don't say that you have a murder. But it's very likely that they were murdered.
In this account, it did mention that there were other members of the family, that James got away, and there were other people there aiding and abetting him in whatever it is that he's doing. So it could be that these are the women that survive the ordeal and then go on to perpetuate all of this as well.
I do, though, find the one idea of a wizard or sorcerer living for an extended period of time to be the most difficult to swallow of the story. I could understand if he was passing on this magical ritual generation to generation as he went along, but
evidence does seem to point to one individual. At the very least, I'd like to speed along the unnatural.
I'd like to know how
long
he found
lifespan.
the fountain of youth.
If nothing else, perhaps the women that survive the ordeal go on to train up the next Jimmy, and then he perpetuates the crimes.
What if, I think that we should find, there may be a way, if let's say the sorcerer has an extended lifespan, who's to say that he didn't start long before 1808, and that there just wasn't the reporting system that we would have?
It's entirely possible.
Right.
But
I
I'm
mean,
wondering
that was the frontier prior to 1808.
Agent Patch, you've looked at the blood work.
Mhm.
We know that these individuals tend to have quick clotting blood, and that's probably part of why they can take so many bullets.
Mm.
Do you know of any compounds that can either negate that or speed it along to the point where a simple injection of some kind might immediately clot their blood?
Anything I could do, Keeper, to kind of
Your
Under that
Ronalyn
conclusion.
would
yeah.
thin
I
their
suppose-
blood. They bleed to death.
If you had a sample of the blood, you could
Mhm.
probably make something like that.
Right.
It would be sort of a medicine roll, using that particular stuff. Otherwise, you'd have to have a significant unnatural score to produce that
Right.
out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the hospital should still have their sample they were running tests on, unless the tests are destructive in some fashion.
So there goes the idea of blood thinner coated bullets.
I was just thinking that.
It had crossed my mind, yes.
Dart guns with
Exactly. That's
quite a dose, you know.
correct.
I want to look around her home just to see if there's anything to give any more light onto.
Sure. I mean, yeah,
Yes.
it seems to be rather a little bit of a kind of a Spartan kind of townhome. Mostly things that are scattered around, stuff to do with her work. She's got a couple, different things. Seems like she's got some astronomy magazines and like a little telescope that she, pokes out of her back, like little deck thing that they have. As part of most townhomes. And so she liked astronomy. It seems like she has she has like an Xbox system, that she uses, to watch Netflix and TV and things like that. So she is, typical STEM sort of hobbies.
check and see if she's got some sort of a logbook on her astronomical. She's looking at particular things.
Is she a student at like Ohio State, somewhere local? She's not, a distant student at Miskatonic. Or
No. She is a student at I don't know off the top of my head. It's the college associated with the Western Medical Center.
Okay, so
School of Medicine. So
local college. Okay.
Yeah, I believe it's the Cleveland University or Ohio University or College of Cleveland. One of those.
Gotcha.
And so it is. She is a local student. Like I said, mostly she keeps things rather clean. There's some clutter just from hobbies and little bits of notes from work at her little home desk, but mostly she keeps things together. Of course, there's no food. The friends have already cleaned that out when they came to check on the dog. It looks like nothing has really been disturbed other than, like I said, just maybe the kitchen where they were feeding the dog, but it hasn't been tossed or anything like that. Paradox, you maybe noticed that it looks like maybe there was a subtle search done, but this place wasn't deep searched or anything like that. It wasn't, nobody tossed the place or anything like I said. So it seems rather normal. You do notice Boris has finished his steak and is sort of happily following you around from the limits of his leash. And so he seems happy to have people around.
I'm going to call my friend Jacqueline Donovan and see if she would like a bloodhound. She likes dogs.
Well, do we want to keep it for a little bit? If we're going out to Parsnip is pointing out, it might be useful to root out the root cellar using the hound.
Perhaps, but it's got to be taken care of by somebody. I mean, we can leave it here for a
Fair
while.
enough. I'm not doing it.
Can I do an internet search on Farnsworth Farm?
Yeah,
That
of course.
turns out-
You find the same flyer. You find some ads, maybe a kind of crudely made Facebook page. Sort of advertising the same things. As a sort of like I mentioned, an agritourism business. Seasonal attractions, self-pick apples and pumpkins. They do hay rides. Given it's kind of autumn right now, so some of these they're currently offering. They do notice that there is a posting. They do post no dogs allowed, and mention something about they're after too many times of dogs eating their crops, they just please leave your dogs at home. But other than that, they seem very much like please come buy our things, kind of just regular kind of ad. At least from that side of things. Did you want to maybe look any other angles, or are you just sort of Googling it sort of just with the regular internet?
I mean, if there's any other options that would be available, I would certainly go for that. I'm really just trying to see, is this Farnsworth Farm Jimmy's?
Well, got a staff page or something.
Yeah.
There isn't a staff page. There is a like a sort of about us page, but it doesn't give a whole lot of names. However, you do think that given you're with DG, you're with the conspiracy, and you've got a detective and an FBI agent with you, you could probably access, with their help, census records, or potentially see who supposedly lives at the farm and see if there's any James that live there. So with somebody with a high enough bureaucracy score, or a lower score with a roll, does anybody have it over 50 by chance?
What?
No.
Bureaucracy.
No.
All right. Does somebody want to give me a bureaucracy roll then?
I've got 25.
So it looks like Paradox is on it.
Yeah, I'll roll it.
I suspect we're about the same.
18.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, it does take a little digging. And using some systems and some credentials, you're able to get into, like I said, census records and the records from the county. It seems that actually dozens of people named Farnsworth, that have the last name Farnsworth or Bell, all do live at the same address in the rural Dark County, Ohio. It seems to be about 5 miles outside of Arcanum, a little bit more outside of Cleveland. And of course, this does correspond to the Farnsworth farm. However, there is no James Farnsworth or Jimmy Farnsworth or Jimmy Bell or James Bell listed at this address.
He still might be there.
If nothing else,
Yeah.
we can go
Yeah.
apple picking, paradox. Doesn't that sound like fun?
Oh, yeah. Apple picking and sorcery.
What
Now,
kind
that
of,
does bring up something. This whole list of Farnsworths and Bells, that might mean there's a lot of hostels.
That was exactly where my mind was. What is your weaponry situation?
I've just got 2 pistols.
Vandermeer, I don't even know if I should ask.
I have a knife. I have a ceramic knife so that I can take it into places that look for metal.
I don't think it's an airport, but
I also
just
have
in
some-
case.
I also
We
have some
might need
small
bigger
explosives.
guns.
I have something a little bit more heavy duty than a pistol, but it's not subtle either.
I don't think subtle is going to be a problem.
I don't think we should be walking into a farm full of children with an assault rifle either, Pawn.
Concerning the Farnsworth family and what I suggested earlier, can I look up on my phone and see from like ancestry.com, when did the Farnsworth surname first show up in the United States? When did they migrate from Europe? The GM is sitting there going, Jesus Christ, these people ask questions that I'm not prepared for. That answers my question.
I'll tell you what. While you are looking into that, and I am outside of the game looking through to see if there is something like that, because I think there is, but I need to flip to a completely different part of the book. So why don't you talk amongst yourselves, and Hades will inform you if he finds something.
I mean, if we find out that they came here in the 1600s, it could be that they are from a long line of European sorcerers.
Well, before we drive into the boonies, is there anything else we should be looking into before going to the farm?
I'd still like to see if we could get some info on the blood, if possible.
Yes, that's right, Pawn. Sorry.
And Parsnip.
Yeah, that's. I was gonna do that actually and forgot. Get into access her logs, her research logs, all the things that she's uploaded to the servers at the Case Western.
What if we find out about the people that are currently running the farm and do background checks to see if they're involved in any criminal activity that other missing people.
Or if nothing else, they all have a similar look to them, right?
Or if there's an existing warrant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was hoping to see. I was hoping to find some pictures on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
If they're under investigation.
Look, there's nothing. There's no hashtag Farnsworth Farms on Instagram. You can go search and see if anyone's taking pictures.
We should also bear in mind that we're not really a criminal investigation. We're trying to find out if there's anything, if the wizard aspect of it is real, and stop it from happening. In which case, we could just barge in there, shoot any wizards we find, and then disappear into the night.
Now you're talking my language.
That's true.
I wonder how long it would take for us to get there.
Yeah, who knows if that wizard can zap you?
Yes, of course.
If we go by the axioms for Delta Green, then we must understand that we need to survey, we need to be careful, we need to be
correct,
thorough. Our priority is not to rescue the woman who's been captured, but hopefully we can. That certainly is a personal priority. We don't want people dying. But at the very worst, it'll be her death at the hands of cultists, Satan-worshiping cultists. That's what they usually say.
It does depend a bit on how far she's gone through this rite. You do need to be prepared that she may be unsavable even if we save her.
Right. Then we can study her.
Perhaps we should do some reconnaissance, a stakeout of sorts.
I
agree with
absolutely.
Yeah, maybe for guard patterns or any unusual activity.
I mean, as far as we know, they have no idea that we're on the case. So I could just go walk into the farm and be there like, oh, how quaint. I can write up a paper on it. I just happen to be in town. I mean, that's exactly what I do. And then while I'm in there distracted, I can say, oh, could you show me your dungeon where you keep your prisoners?
Maybe we can all go in as friends and try out their apple cider donuts.
We'll have to dress down.
Prada, it's not a bad idea to, I don't know, give them a call and say you'll rep them on social media or something if they give you like a little tour, something private, a little bit behind the scenes. And then the rest of us can be staged as apple pickers or whatever. Pawn, you like an apple picker.
I don't really look like an apple picker.
Yeah, I don't know that all of us fit that, and there's no way that I want to be too close to that without some form of weaponry.
I've gone undercover plenty of times during some stings, so I'm comfortable doing that.
So I did actually find something. I had to flip through some of my notes here, but to a different part of the book. But first, I wanted to ask, just to clarify what everyone is doing, it seems like you're planning an expedition to the farm. Hades was talking while also just flipping through some stuff, and I'm going to give you something you found. Was there anything else anybody was doing? Did you want to run a trace on the virus, or did you want to wait on that and try other things first?
How long would it? Well, it kind of depends. How long would it take me to do a trace on it?
It would take you some time. You could basically spend some time talking and during the car ride, getting it started, and then it's just a matter of how long your code will take to ping back with it where it's from. So it might be a couple hours. It could be a day. It's really going to depend on how much your code will need to do, basically.
Yeah. I think we can kind of scratch that at the moment, because I figured that this Farnsworth farm is probably where we need to be focusing our attention on.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to try to get like the files off the database.
You are able to. They are encrypted files, but you are able to send a similar copy to yourself that she has.
Okay.
So you can have an encrypted copy that, given that you are opening the email through the right links, because basically if you put this data in, if you try to open it in the wrong way, it's not going to work, basically, is the way that this encryption system is working. And that's from Miskatonic, which some of you might know is one of your favorite recruiting, one of the conspiracy's favorite recruiting grounds. So
the Armitage protocol.
Exactly. So that people there are friendlies or agents themselves that keep things in line and they keep things encrypted. So you have an encrypted copy that, as long as you don't try to access the data by if your device is destroyed, you might have to find another way to get it, because you can't just plug in and pull it off because of the encryption. Wonderful. All right, cool. So in that case, you're all getting ready. You're taking a copy of this tome that you found potentially for later. Prada. You are looking. Yeah, go ahead.
Just quickly, can we get on Google Earth and see if we can get a satellite view of the farm?
Well, in that case, why don't I actually have two things for you then. So the first thing that I will do is can I do this? Can I do that? Yes. So I put the map there. So this is what you would get from just a sort of a satellite view. And I will also, we can stream this for just a moment for everyone else here. Hold on. It seems like there are a number of apple orchards and trees, of course. There's also a number of pumpkin patches. It seems there is some sort of a little bit of a playground type area. There's a number of different bushes. It seems like there is some farmhouses and residential houses and a parking lot. And so it seems like, it seems generally to match with, the information you've seen. You even spot a couple people, working and going about. It seems like it's appears from the satellite view to be like any other, farm that might be, like I said, agro-tourist type farm that offers these kinds of services and seasonal things. So that's the general sort of layout of the area. And then the other thing I wanted to show you is, someone is able to pull up a satellite map as well. Hades, you're looking through, you're checking the sort of genetic database sites and things like that, Ancestry.com, those kind of records. And it seems like, unfortunately, no, you don't find anything pre-1808. It seems like the geneticists, researchers seem to have, they're onto something there. And that's when this seems to have started. It was around 1808 is when it really came into sort of into the news, into the sort of the common light that this sort of thing was going on, and that this mutation that existed. However, it's strange that when you're looking through, you find a report from, is called the particular website is findmyfamily.com. You find a correspondence. It seems that somebody sent a sample into findmyfamily.com, and attached to this is a message from the CDC. And so it is, not necessarily public record. However, using some of the resources you have available to you, perhaps again using the databases or sort of the go ahead, the credentials that you have as sort of fake FBI agents, or with Pon's help, you're able to get in and find that there is actually a letter. There's a letter from a Sergeant Tom Barkley and a CDC that has to do with this sample in this CDC investigation that happened a few years ago, that has to do with this sample that somebody submitted.
I found a interesting little letter here. It's a memorandum from the Los Angeles Police Department. Sergeant Tom Barkley, LAPD, infectious outbreak desks from the CDC, to the CDC, sorry. We are requesting your assistance for analysis of the enclosed blood sample from an infectious disease biohazard perspective. The sample was taken from the home of James Chang, age 17. Mr. Chang was found decapitated and torn to pieces in his bedroom, almost as though he was the victim of a bomb blast. However, no signs of explosives were found. He had been seen earlier in the day by his parents, Robert and Emily Chang, both respected local physicians. His girlfriend, London Sinclair, age 17, admitted in an interview that she had visited James in his bedroom about an hour before he was discovered. However, she was ruled out as a suspect simply because no human agency could have forensically caused this crime scene. The splash pattern are suggestive of an explosion, but in addition, it seems as though the crime scene was tampered with, as fragments of the body seem to have been moved over an extended period of time. It makes no sense. That's very interesting. I wonder if we could find any record of the CDC of this.
And of course, you are you're not entirely sure that this is directly related to your case, but given you were looking in, the fact that you're looking into these different websites, that the CDC had a case with this findfamily.com a few years ago, a decade or two back, is significant for a Delta Green operative. It seems like this is definitely something that if Delta Green, if the conspiracy was heard about, they would investigate. However, about 10, 20 years ago when this, or not 20, about 10 or so years ago when this happened, you were still sort of transitioning, and so it was very likely that one of the more cowboys was the person who handled this case. And unfortunately, you don't have all the records, and so they don't know if this is something that you're not sure if Delta Green investigated this in the past or not with the CDC.
It's not our current case, anyways, but we have the information, so we can pass it on.
Yeah, and you do have a couple names there as well.
Yeah.
I think this is a rather good place. We can have you all, if does anybody else wanted to do anything before you head to the farm for the first time? Or anything that we couldn't do in preparation as part of next episode?
I think that what we're going to do is head to the farm, but we're going to do so carefully.
Okay.
So that we don't just walk in.
If other agents are not worried about time, I wouldn't hate literally scoping out the farm for a night.
I agree. That's wise.
Mhm.
Go get a hunting scope and check it out from afar.
Sure. Then a perfect place for us to end it then is so you all get some gear. You get a hunting scope. Wasn't anything else we can iron out in between the weeks, and you gather this gear up. You head out at night. You sort of stealthily try to approach from afar, and you do see that. Seems like the place is, as a business, closed from the outside, but you do see a couple lights on in the houses in the farmhouse. Like there are obviously still people here. And as you're looking with the scope, you get sort of an eerie sight as you see what looks to be some sort of a little bit of a fire. Like they're having some sort of campfire or bonfire, but it looks way out back. Like perhaps it's beyond the apple trees. Like they're way out behind their groves. And so you just see the little bit of the smoke from the fire rising up as they seem to be doing something here at night. And that is where we will close the curtain for this week for our opera.
Standing. Our players included Holly Buteau, Nathan Decker, Julian Arba, Alex Sun, and myself, with John Dos Passos as the keeper of the secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with our other members. You can set up private games, and you can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Delta Green role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.